This new racism of the left is looking awfully like the old one, like even apartheid. Now, if you think I'm exaggerating, you just look at New Zealand. There's a push there by the council of the Rotorua district in the North Island. Not just about dividing voters by race, we're starting to do that here, that's the Labor plan, but giving the vote of one race more worth. Joining me is David Farrar, who worked for a Nationals Prime Minister and now runs New Zealand's extremely popular Kiwi blog covering New Zealand politics, and I recommend it highly. I use it myself. David, it's great to catch up with you again after so long. This council wants to change its voting rules away from what we normally understand, one man or one woman, one vote. What is the plan?
Well, what they want to do is to have 3 wards or 3 seats on their council for people in the Māori roll and 3 seats for people on the general roll. The trouble they have, though, is there's 22,000 people on the Māori roll and 56,000 people on the general roll. And that's illegal because we still have laws that say one person, one vote. But they've said we want to do this anyway. So they've persuaded a Labor MP to bring in a law change to allow them to bring in the scheme so that 22,000 people's vote will be equal to 56,000 people's vote. And it will be based on race. It will be based on who your ancestors are.
It's just so extraordinary. I know I've been watching this sort of racism probably stroll into New Zealand, that it gets this far that people would say that. By your calculations then, what is a non-Maori vote worth? What is the vote of an Asian voter or a white voter worth compared to a Maori voter if this proposal gets up?
Around 40% in Rotorua. And we all remember, of course, the great furore that, the United States Constitution originally had. Certain people were only, I think, 2/3 or 3/4, 3/5 was, I think, of other people. Well, here they've gone for 40%. But Andrew, the most amazing thing isn't that they're trying to do this, but there's been almost no media coverage of it. You would think a law change saying, let's throw out one person, one vote, let's change the most fundamental aspect of democracy would be a front page story. It would be on the 6 o'clock news. It would be debated by everyone. I can confidently predict that your viewers will know more about it than the vast majority of New Zealanders.
But David, this really frightens me. This is the other aspect, not just the racism that's overtaking New Zealand, but what you just pointed to, and we've had other examples of this. And again, I've got to ask, this time I'm going to ask it of you, why do you think that is? It's suggested be made that in part it's, the natural left-wing bias of the media, that you see that all over the Western world, but also there's suggestions that government funding of newspapers makes them more reluctant to criticise the government or any sort of totemic issue of the left. What's your view?
Well, in some regards, on issues like this, it's even worse. Media generally lean left, and they certainly will criticise the government, usually from a left perspective. But there's $55 million being given to journalists through New Zealand On Air, and you have to sign up to what they call their treaty partnership approach, which is things like it shouldn't be one person, one vote, but that there should be co-governance, etc. So you've got a huge reluctance of media to actually dive into these issues. As I said, I think it's amazing that this has had so little publicity because it's so fundamental.
Now, apart from the media, the cowardice or maybe the willful ideological blindness, on the ground. Now, I know there have been protests in Rotorua against this change, small protests, but I've also seen that people are usually scared to challenge racism like this because they're scared, ironically, of seeming racist themselves. So how much opposition do you think there is really to this among people that know of the proposal?
Oh, look, I'm sure if it went to a public vote, it would be defeated overwhelmingly because people like the idea of everyone's vote should be the same. But it's not just an apathy, but I think the dilemma people have is you do have stats across the board, crime, health, education, economy, jobs, where Māori do not do as well as non-Māori. And people want to do something to help close those gaps. And something may be setting up, co-governance. So then people think, well, if I'm against this, I'm saying I don't want those gaps to be closed. And we don't have this sophisticated debate. We can say, look, we agree with you, there's a problem, but we disagree on the solution because, to be honest, you then just get called racist. You get called a white supremacist. We had our most successful businessman, Rod Jury, gave $100,000 to the ACT Party recently, and the Māori Party came out and demanded that people boycott Xero, the global company he set up, because he donated to a party which has a different view on treaty issues. So people just don't want to be called racist.
We're seeing the same here. David Farrar, it's great to catch up with you after these too many years. We'll do it again. Thank you for your time.